Hello everyone. Welcome to JCOV webinars. My name is Roman Meerson. I'm a driver of JCOVCommunity, and I'm glad to see you all here on our webinars. Hope you like us, and that's why you are here with us. So today we'll have some special event, a bit different from other events we have. I will tell about this a bit later. So before we start, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel in case you are not. And also, could you please send something to our chats? I can remind you that we have two chats, basically, one on the YouTube and one on WeAreCommunity platform. So just send us something, send that you can hear me well. Like you can see, I have here my iPad, so I can check the chat. So I'm not looking to the side; I'm looking on on you basically. So could you send us please something that everything is good and you can hear me well and everything is fine. So yeah, as a reminder, again, we have two chats, basically one on YouTube, one on WeAreCommunity platform. So you may post your questions in both of them. Yeah, I see your messages. Thank you very much. And I will track all of them. Not me. This is also not an announcement, so we will check all your messages, all your questions, and have them here on our webinar. So let me invite here today my friend who will help me with this webinar, because today this webinar is special. I won't act as a just host. I will act as a speaker here. So yeah, let me invite here Tatiana Baraukova. Tanya, hello.
Hello guys, so yep, today Roma is actually in two roles at the same time, so to help him to kind of cope with it, I think I will be useful, and I will try to sound all of your questions and posts and comments, which are definitely important for us during the Q&A session, which is going to be at the very end, I think, of Roman's speech. But do not hesitate to post your comments, your questions, your thoughts immediately when you have it during his speech, and we definitely will try to sound them.
Yeah, sure. And also, please, just some reminder, of course, we have some lag between us and you. Unfortunately, this is some technical issues. I wish I make this talk offline, but unfortunately, we need to do it online still because we are worldwide here. So, if you see something, you want to react on what's going on, I will have some errors. I will for sure have some errors in my console, in my idea. So send your reactions. Send something like, what the hell are you coding? This should work differently. So send it to the chat, and I'm pretty sure Tanya will announce all of this, at least if lag won't be too high. I hope for it. So yeah, we will start in just about 1 minute. So just a small reminder, please subscribe to our channel, leave us some comment, please. And also in the end of the webinar, if you registered via WeAreCommunity platform, you will receive an feedback form. So please spend a couple of minutes to fill it. This time I ask from myself because I read all your feedback. So yeah, I really hope you will enjoy my talk, and we use it always to make better our speakers, make better our webinars. So yeah, hope you will like it, and hope to receive your feedbacks. Okay, so I think we may start. To be honest, feel a bit nervous, but still I think I hope it will be great.
The whole chat wishing you good luck.
Thank you guys, thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, let me start with sharing my screen. Yeah, now it's here. Okay, I will share presentation and let's go. So today my talk is called Your First Reactive Race, and obviously we will speak about reactivity and reactivity in Java, and how you can manage it and how we can work with it. So first, let me introduce myself. Hi everyone, my name is Roman Meerson. Please call me Roma. I'm Chief Software Engineer at EPAM, work with Java since 2010, driver of JCOVCommunity. Here you may see my Twitter. Also, it's on every slide. So while it's not that fully, you may subscribe on me there. So sometimes I post something there. So for whom this talk is, right? So let's just define if this talk would be useful for you or not. So you've heard a lot about reactivity, but never tried it yet. Then yes, this talk is for you. Definitely, you will see a couple useful things there. Your colleague dreamed to bring reactivity to the project, but you have doubts about that. In this case, also, I think this will be interesting for you because you will know problems you will face with reactivity before you will really face them. And you are the exact that colleague who want to bring reactivity to the project, then probably, yes, this talk will also be useful for you by the same reasons, basically. Maybe you change your mind, maybe not. And also, you use reactivity in your project and already took some lumps on it, but there is still some empty space left. Then probably lumps from other engineers will help you to not have more lumps on your skin. Who may go and do something more useful, right? So this talk is not for everyone, I'm pretty sure. So if you're one of these points, you may probably go and, I don't know, maybe work. But of course, you may stay here with us and maybe share your experience for sure. So if you're a WebFlux developer, I'm not sure you will find anything useful here, but you may help me with some explanations. If you had brought reactivity to your project before it became mainstream, so I'm pretty sure you already faced all these issues and already seen all of them. There is no place on your body for new reactivity lumps, basically the same. Or maybe you think ChatGPT will replace all developers soon, then I'm pretty sure you should go running around, spinning around, and just claim that ChatGPT will replace us all. If you're not in these groups, please stay. I hope this talk will be interesting for you. Just a small reminder for all of us that Loom is coming. So most probably in some after September, after Java 21, which will release in September with Project Loom, fully ready for production, all this talk would be a bit outdated. Well, not outdated for reactivity, but maybe we all will come back to threads and writing all on virtual threads. So just keep it in mind. And we had on our channel talk from Alex Filichkin about Project Loom. So take a look at it. Alex had also a nice article on the Medium about Loom, about its performance, so don't miss it if you haven't seen it. Okay, so now after we finish with this introduction, so let's speak about what do we have, because we will try to investigate all this stuff based on kind of real example. So we will have our old, boring, classic web service, which is implemented with Spring MVC. I'm pretty sure you've seen it multiple hundreds, thousand times. So we have this application, and also we'll have new shiny reactive service, which we brought to our project and which we will develop. And on this one, we will see some cases. And these cases we will try to open and see what's inside them. So, as Nicholas first said, programming is usually taught by examples. So let's dive into the example. So I have here idea. I will for sure increase the font. Okay, hope you can see it better now. If not, then please type something to the chat and I will ask Daniel to tell me, but I hope you can see it perfectly. So let's have a look what we have here. First thing is what I mentioned, it's classic web application. So if you will open POM.xml here, you will see that we have here Spring Boot Starter Web. So it's something you've seen pretty much a lot of time, I'm pretty sure. And with this classic web application, we have MVC controller in which we have several methods, which we will call from our reactive application. So we have some method which returns string with post body, with some delay, some fallback method, some method which returns error, some different stuff. We will explain them a bit later when we come to them. And we have our reactive, shiny, new application, which is there. And if we open POM.xml, you will see here that we have here Spring Boot Starter WebFlux. So this is what you desired for. This is a reactive framework, which brings all this reactivity, mono, and mono stuff to your application. So it's here, right? It's our reactive shiny application. And I have some controllers prepared. Again, we will discover them a bit later when we will come to them. So for now, we just have these reactive application. So let me start my classic application. So it will be running on the background. And then let me come back to my presentation. So, case number one-time try, not reactive. What we will try to do here. So we have our new shiny reactive service, we have our old service, and we will have a request coming to new service. And what we want to do is just to send another request to our old service. So quite simple thing, right? The first thing I think you would do with your reactive service is just to receive some request and resend it, or just send another one to old application. Okay, so here I have prepared a controller. So it's, I suppose, this one. Yeah, so we would receive here some request on like hello, and then we need to forward it to our old application. So that's what we will try to do. Well, first thing, if you come to reactivity and you want to do something with that, I think you want to do it like you did it before in old good times, right? And if in Spring you want to do something with reactivity, I'm pretty sure you would use something like REST template. So REST template is great to sending requests, quite simple one, right? Why not to use simple solutions for reactivity, right? Okay, so we just need to go here. We need to define, we need to define a REST template bin. It's quite an easy one. So we just define it. Here we go. We use REST template builder. Okay, so we define the bin. Now we go back to our controller. Here we need to outwire our private REST template. REST template, we would use it. Okay, now here we need to outwire it. Done. And now I think you did it like a lot of times previously. So we just need to send the request from this REST template, right? So we do REST template. Then we say, okay, we need to get for object. Then we say, okay, HTTP / localhost 8080.
Until you're posting a link. So while you're posting a link, just a brief comment from a chat. Oh boy, what a familiar stack. So you're definitely 100% right that this is well known for our audience.
Yeah, exactly. So we used REST template to get for object from our old service, right? Localhost 8080 is just like the host and port where we have old service, and API / hello. This is some controller from old application. But we are in reactive world, right? So, and our method, it returns mono. So we need to return mono as well. Okay, well, we say return when we say, okay, mono, and mono has a nice method which calls just. So it just defines the mono itself, and then we just get it, post it here. That's it, right? We wrote some kind of reactive code. IDEA underline it with some yellow lines, but who cares about warnings from IDEA, right? Right? Okay, so let me start this.
Localhost should be fixed, as chat mentioned. So.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, that's what I mentioned, that you need to, well, IDEA is complaining about other stuff. IDEA tells us that this argument might be null, but like this is not something important here. Yeah, thanks for localhost fix. So that's what I called that. Please be interactive inside this talk. Okay, I'm starting my reactive Shiny application. You meanwhile vote if it will start it or not. It's not, obviously. And you may see here that I have the problem that REST template builder that could not be found. Okay, well, basically, when you have some issues like that, you just go to internet with this question. So with that question, I went online, and then if you Google that, you will see like, okay, REST template builder, probably you need to add some dependency. And the second link of the Google tells you that you need to have Spring Boot Starter Web to make it work. Well, of course, when we use REST template, we just go to POM.xml and add it there, Spring Boot Starter Web. Okay, so let me just copy this one. Okay, we have WebFlux. Why don't you have web as well with WebFlux? What's the problem with that? Could be. Okay, now we have this dependency here. And now if I will try to start my reactive Shiny application, it should work.
Guys are asking to make font a bit bigger, if possible.
More bigger. I will try.
A bit at least. Yep.
Okay, let's try this way. So does it work now for you?
Guys,
okay.
Expecting your answer. Yep. In the chat.
Yeah,
so
well, you may reply later. Okay, so it still says that REST template builder could not be found. Okay, I think that Maven was just not updated. So let me just update it. Yeah, now it should be there. So let's start the application. Now it should work. Yeah, so my application is started. So let's just go to our web controller and try to call it. I will use built-in IDEA HTTP request call. So basically this works, right? We did a call to old application from the reactive one. We received the reply. So this thing works. And then you may say something like this. So I developed reactive application. The question is, you didn't use blocking calls, right? Right? Yes, that's basically the problem, and the problem why it haven't started from the beginning, because the whole point of using this reactive stuff is that we try to avoid blocking calls. And when you do this REST template get for object, this is blocking call. So basically, you don't mess with all the threads which React with WebFlux created underneath your application. You just define a pipeline which will use these threads to do something around your application. And then inside this pipeline, you do a blocking call using old REST template, which is definitely blocking. And in this case, there is no point of using reactivity at all, because you try to use blocking calls inside non-blocking reactivity flow. So of course this works, but this is not something we want to do when we say that we want to use reactivity and all this stuff. So how to avoid this, how to make it right. So first thing, you need to go to POM.xml and get rid of Spring Starter Web. We don't need it. We already have WebFlux here. Then we get rid of this bin we defined, REST template, and about all its imports. Then we go here, and here we do changes. So first thing, we need to have special web client which comes with WebFlux. So I have it prepared. Yeah, it's here. So we define field web client, and then inside the constructor of our controller, we define this web client via web client.builder. We define base URL to which we would send, requests, and then we build it. Of course, you can build your web client not inside the controller itself, and better not to do this in real production, but to build it somewhere else in some centralized place. And then just use it, but for test reasons, we can have it here. Then we don't need REST template at all. And here now in this hello forward, what we need to do is we just need to make a call basically. So we do web client dot, then we define the method with which we want to make a call. So it would be get. Then we say to which URI we want to make a call. So we already have base URL in web client set. So here we need just to set up API/hello. Then we say which meta type we accept. So it would be application JSON. And then we say that we want to retrieve results. And there is a method which says body to mono, which already prepares some mono to us. Yeah, that's it. Then we need to return it. And this one, we don't need it. So we already have mono here. We don't need anything else. So let me restart my application. It's restarting, everything works, and let me send the request and show that it works. It is? It is? No, it's not.
So
why? Yeah, because API.
Yep, API is duplicated.
Yeah. Now I see it. Thank you guys again. Yeah, it's better to have the stock offline, when I could react much faster on your replies, but still. Okay, yeah, it works. So we receive a response from our old application. Thing is that we don't see any difference between our previous implementation and this one, right? Because they both works and tests will pass and all this stuff. We will see the problems on the real production where we have real load, and all the point of using this reactivity is using of these non-blocking calls. So this call is non-blocking. It's inside pipeline, and this will bring you all reactivity things which you want to bring to your project. So coming back to our presentation and conclusion for this first part, we think that one-time try, not reactive, that we could use reactive in some parts and could not use them in other parts. Well, basically not. One-time reactive, always reactive. This is quote not from me. This is from another great speaker, Mitya Alexandrov. Find his talks on our Java On conference, which was there, and also on the internet. He's a developer from Oracle, working on Helidon, and they brought this reactivity stuff into Helidon, not only reactivity but also Loom. So a lot of more useful quotes there. Okay, so this was the case number 1. Just a reminder, just please post your questions if you have any to the chat, and we will try to answer them later, I think, in the end of the talk. Okay, case number 2. How long do you work? We will have our new service and our old service. Basically, let's consider that it's not our old service, but some external old service, right? To which we would like to make a calls. So it's external system, we don't control it. So we have our web request coming to our application, and then we send request to this old service, and we want to know how long does it work. This is the task, yeah, just to know how long does it work. Okay, for this I have another controller prepared, so here you can find it, time log controller, and we already defined web client here, so we know case number 1, and here we have some call to external service. So we will call hello delay endpoint, which do some delay on its side. Let me show it to you. So in the VC controller we have this hello delay, which slips from half a second to 1 second. Randomly. So this is the delay on the MVC service, and then after that we retrieve the result, convert it to mono, and also do some mapping on our side. This is our code. So we want to log it and to know how much time does it take. So if you are in real production code, and you want to track some time or something, you basically don't do it manually, right? You use some library which already exists. So for example, the most popular one is micrometer, and if you just go to documentation of micrometer, this is what you will see there. And by the way, the micrometer is included in Spring Free by default. So inside micrometer documentation, you will see that the only thing you need is just make a timer and wrap your code into the lambda and put it to the timer, right? So just like wrap up the method, put it to the timer, and it will calculate it for you. Okay, sounds pretty easy and straightforward. Of course, we won't use micrometer for this task, but we will do basically something like that. So we go here. Let me then put it to the variable. Let's call it result, something like that. And this thing we would wrap up with some logging. So basically, yeah, I do really, let's say, dumb thing here. So I take the time before I started the request. I take the time after I finish the request, and then I just put it into the logs. Right? Quite simple. Quite simple and straightforward. Of course, in production, don't do this with local time. Use some libraries, use micrometer. But here we want to see the results and how it's going. Okay, so let me run this once. So it takes some time, right? Okay, let's run it second time. Maybe even third one. So you see that request takes some time, right? So we really have this delay on the old MVC application. Let's have a look in the logs. What do we have there? Okay, so first call took us 20 milliseconds. Well, 20 milliseconds is much less than half of a second or a second delay, which we have on our old application. That's weird. Let's have a look on the second and third call. It takes even less. So 0 milliseconds and 0 milliseconds. Well, I'm pretty sure you already understand that it's like definitely not true, because we see with our own eyes that this request takes some time. It's not speak of milliseconds. Yeah, it took something around a second. So what's going on here? The problem that we don't benchmark with this code the call itself. We benchmark creation of mono. So we benchmark how long does it take for code to move through this mono creation, and then we show these numbers here. But basically, after this mono is created and subscriber, in this case our browser or IDEA acting as a browser, subscribe for its results. This is definitely another thing. So here we just see how long does it take to create a mono. Okay, but still that's strange that first time mono is created for 20 milliseconds and then for 0 milliseconds. So I took that knowledge and put it all to GMH library, so wrap it up and make a test for you, so you may see how much time it really takes. So this is kind of the same mono creation pipeline we have in our example. So we have web client, we have get request, then we set URI, accept, retrieve, body to mono, and map. Basically the same. And here you may see times, how long does it take for each method to run. So to create a get method, it takes around 2 milliseconds. It's nanoseconds here, so it's 2 milliseconds. For URI, it's 6 milliseconds, around 2 milliseconds for accept, around 6 milliseconds again for retrieve. less, like around half of millisecond for body to mono, and for map it's also like something like this. This is run number 1. If we just run the same pipeline or the same method second time, the get will take a lot less, and you may see that for other methods it's also times less than for the first run. And for run number 3, numbers are comparably same with run number 2. The interesting part here that if we'll have another pipeline, I mean reactive pipeline, in some other place on our application for the same web client, of course, but still. So in this case, we have difference in like post method. So previously we have get method, now we have post method. Same URI method. Now we have body because this is post request, where we construct the body of this request. Then we have accept method, the same one, retrieve, body to mono, and map. So these are the same. So for the first run, numbers will be the following. Post will be created relatively fast. URI also, these numbers can be compared to random number 2 and 3 of the first try. Body, it will take time to create body, so around 1 millisecond. For accept, retrieve, body to mono, and map, numbers are relatively small. For run number 2 and run number 3, numbers can be compared to run number 2 and run number 3 from the first run. So you see that all these mono pipelines creation are not free. It takes your resources, it takes time when you first create your pipeline. Then it's relatively fast to just execute it, but still important point here, it's not free, it takes time, and maybe you need to warm up your application just for not spend time on the first request when it will happen. Okay, basically we did a nice calculation on how long does it take to create a mono. Still, our task, as a reminder to you, is we want to log how long does it take to call another service and not how long to create a mono. So how can we achieve that? So basically, we need to intervene inside the pipeline we created and take the results from it, not outside of it, right? So for this, we have plenty of methods. So for example, we have method which calls do on next. And here in do on next, you have some result of your previous execution of your pipeline. It's here. Then we just like open Lambda and we put these 3 rows here. Right? So now inside, I will restart application meanwhile. So now inside our pipeline, we execute something so we can track before time, before we start this pipeline, and after time right inside the pipeline. So in this case, we really will track will track time of call of this external service. We will rely on it anyhow. By the way, we can even like do this here, so we can inline our call, but this won't impact the results. So let me call again our endpoint. Call number 1, just for test, call number 2, and call number 3. And let's have a look at the logs. Okay, so first call took us a bit more than 2 seconds. Okay, this is closer to reality, right? Second call, second and a half. Third call, also around 2 seconds. Okay, this looks more like the reality, but still our delay on old application is from half of the second to 1 second. And here the numbers are all closer to 2 seconds. So what's going on with that? Problem here is in this method, map result, which I also use here. And if we just scroll down here and open this method, you may see that I here also have thread slip. So basically, we count here our random thread slip on old application and also our thread slip inside our application, which we don't want to count. So basically, we need to track time before we do mapping result. So to show you like the difference and that I'm not lying, I will have do on next here before mapping. So here we will track time of the call itself, and after that we will also have this do on next tracking time after mapping, right? So we will see the difference. I will do this only in millis, as nanoseconds would be not really visible here. So in milliseconds we will see the result. So let me run it. I think 2 times will be enough to see the difference. Okay, let's see the results. Okay, so time of the call itself was 1 second, a bit like around 1.5 seconds, and then we just add like this thread sleep of 1 second, which we have an application. And this is for second call, right? Remember that here we also have the pipeline creation, which we discussed previously, because before making the call, pipeline should be created. That's kind of obvious thing here. Okay, so let's come to the conclusion of the second case. First of all, don't trust documentation blindly. Yeah, in Macrometer we see documentation which was created for old version of the code, let's say, and not for the modern reactive stack. So please always think of the documentation, if it's applicable or not. If you see error in documentation, fix it. Most of libraries are open sourced, or they welcome contributors. So if you see any error, go and fix them. This will help everyone else in future. Even if you benchmark something wrong, this is not always useless. So in this case, we did wrong benchmark, but still we learned something from that. So now we know how long does it take to create a mono. So don't just be disappointed if you benchmark something wrong, and be careful with pipelines. Always remember in which part of pipeline you are, what are you doing, and what you want to do with that. So it's really important where you do actions inside the pipeline. Okay, let's move to case number 3. Do it yourself, or why is there a sync? So what we will have here, we will have only our reactive service. In this reactive service, we will have some method where we can update for subscription. So let's say we have some consumers who want to receive some updates from our reactive service. And then we have another method which would add update to service, and all subscribers should receive this update. This is basically our task which we want to implement here. Okay, so let's have a look at the code. In the code, I have this controller. So it's just a template which prepared. So we have this method update where subscribers can subscribe for updates basically, and we produce this special media type text event stream value. This is new media type, well, relatively new media type, which is supported by all modern browsers, where you can really stream values and subscribe for them. So you will receive them in real time. We'll produce flux here, as we need to provide more than one value, so flux would be more suitable here. And we have method add update, which calls the function add update, which will basically add update to our system. So the simplest thing which you can think about, if we use flux, and previously we used mono, and in mono we had a method mono.just. So maybe let's do the same thing here. So let's return flux.just, and let's provide here some values. Let's say A, I think also B, probably C, and I think D as well. Okay, so that's basically it. Let's just try to run our service. I will drink some water meanwhile. Oh yeah. So,
so actually we do have some questions, but I would like to just to sum up for the guys who have actively asked about the asynchronous way of request while Roman has tested his performance time. So I think he's already demonstrated this, but just a final question in this area. Roma, could you briefly recap which exact tool have you used for mono creation timing login? So how did you gather the...
Well, basically I just use GMH. So this is the library you may find on the internet. It's was made by Alexey Shipilov when he was working in Oracle. Let me just show it here, maybe. Yeah, like this. So this is this one. So it's GMH library. Have a look at it if you want to benchmark anything. This is kind of useful for doing benchmark, as you see there. Quite a useful and handy tool. Okay.
We will definitely attach it to the speech in the OrgJaCoVCommunity platform, as well as to the talk on YouTube. Thank you, Roman.
Well, yeah. If you haven't used this tool yet, so please put it on your table. This is really cool work instrument to use if you want to benchmark something. Okay, so we started this application. Let me try to call this method with flux.just. Okay, you may see that our call provided us with data we put here, like A, B, C, and D. But then we have connection closed. So basically, this flux is empty and connection was closed. So this is not something we want to have in the end, because basically our task is to have something where we can subscribe for updates and receive them while they are coming. So this solution won't work. To make it work, we need to use special library, not library, but special class, which exists in WebFlux, which calls sync. So sync is something which you use when you want to provide values. Yeah, there was also a joke in the beginning of this case, which I forget to mention, because, you know, always when you come to the talks about reactivity and hear the speakers, they say, okay, that's quite easy. Just connect starter to your database and take the data from your database with Flux, and that's it. And you are nice and shiny. Well, if you want to do this manually, this won't work. You need to create this basically starter, and that's where sync come to the game. So we have this class sync, and we have syncs to be able to create it. Then you need to define what would be your subscribers. So in this case, we want to have many subscribers, so we define syncs many. And here we define the class which will produce to all the subscribers. In our case, it will be strings, and let's call it updates. Also, I would use some atomic long to be sure that we defined really different events and send them to our subscribers. Now, we need to have a misclick. We need to have a constructor. I need to select none. And in this constructor, we need to define these updates and this counter. So these updates, in this case, we use the same class syncs. And now we need to define again on how many subscribers will we have. Okay, many, empty, or one, we will have many subscribers. Cool. Now we need to define how we want to cast our values. So basically, unicast is when we want to cast only one value, multicast is when we want to cast multiple values, and replay if we want to allow subscribers to replay values, so to have them fetch values from the beginning. So, okay, in our case, it's multicast as we speak about Flux. Then another bunch of methods which we need to do. I don't know what to pick. Best before, best effort, right? Best is always the best. Cool. I think that's it. We created a sync. Now we need to define counters. So basically it would be quite much simpler. And then we want to call several times the method to add new updates to our sync. Now, if we want to add new update here, what we need to do, we would define our next number, get an increment. So it would be next number. Nice. Now we need to put this update to our basically sync which we just created. So we go for updates, then we say try emit next. This method is used to put new event to your sync. You say new update number here, and then you like next number. Okay, this also done. Now, after you do emitting, you may also have a result of this emitting. And after you did that, you may check. So if result is failure, then let's log it, right? Let's not to just leave it as is. So let's log error, and here we put like fail to emit, and here plus next number. So, okay, we have this done. So now we can emit new events to our sync and see the result of that. So this is done. This is also done. And now we need the last part to be able to subscribe for our Flux. So we just go to return updates as Flux. And that's it. It's already there. So you may notice that maybe if you return something like mono just or flux just, first thing you need to do is to think maybe there is a method which already returned to you some mono or some flux, like here, right? So we can return flux from updates, or in first case it was from client. It's not always bad. Sometimes you need to really create mono from mono.just or flux.just, but just be wise and check several times that maybe there is simpler way. Okay, let's try to run it. So I will subscribe for updates here. Okay, you see this rolling. So this means I subscribed. So let me try to add an update, calling this. And here you may see that I have new update number 3. Okay, let me add one more update. I need to switch it back here. So now I received update number 4. Okay, well, let me also try to open it in Chrome. So I will go here and I will open it like localhost 8090 API reactive update. So you see also here it's rolling. So that means that we also waiting for something. So I go back to IDEA and push new update here. So update number 5 received here, and also, where is Chrome? Here. Update number 5 received here. Okay, basically it works. Now the question, what happened with our free updates, which we pushed here in the constructor? If we open the logs on startup, we will see that we have 3 errors here, that we failed to emit 0, 1, and 2. So question here, so what's happened to these 3 updates? So they failed to emit. Basically, the answer is here. First time when we stopped thinking and just pushed the direct best effort because there is word best inside, if we open the doc of the reactive of WebFlux, you may see that without subscribers, this best effort failed fast and try emit next. So basically, this direct best effort doesn't work without subscribers. It just vanish all the message there because, okay, there is no subscribers. I will just not send it to anyone. More or less the same we may see with direct all or nothing. This works when all subscribers are which connected are healthy. If just some of them are not healthy and could not confirm of receiving the update, this will fail for everyone. So nobody will receive this. And we also have this on-back pressure buffer. If you open it, you will see that we have here, like without subscribers, it's warm up. It remembers some amount of messages which you push there. And then first subscriber is registered. It sent all this event to first subscriber. So let's try it. We change direct best effort to on-back pressure buffer. I'm restarting the application. Good enough that it started pretty fast. Okay, we see that my connection here is broken. That's okay because we restarted the application. So let me subscribe to it. And you see, well, once I subscribed, I receive all these events. And here I may also add one more event. Yes, it also works. Another interesting part here is that if in Chrome I will go here and resubscribe for this, I will receive nothing. And only if I send more updates. So here I receive update number 4, and in Chrome I also receive update number 4. So thing is that as here, also when we defined all this sync stuff, we select multicast but not replay. In this case, new subscribers could not replay values which were there before they subscribed. So only first subscriber received all the values which were cached before it, but all the rest, they received nothing. Okay, so let's go to conclusions on that part. First of all, remember about subscribers. Remember about your business value. Depending on your business logic, it could be different approach how you create the syncs, but still don't forget about them. You always need to be in sync how you send this data. Choose strategy depending on your task. So this is basically the same, right? Always think of your business logic, which you need to implement, and afterwards declare your objects in the following manner. And read documentation. Read documentation is kind of important. Okay, case number 4. Calls, does anything happen? So we have our reactive service. I think you miss it. So we also have our old service. We have request coming to new service, and then request goes to old service, but something went wrong on it, and we want to know, and we want to react on these errors inside our reactive application to do something with that. Okay, So for this, I have this logging controller. So what do we have here? Let me show you. Yeah, here. So we have our web client set up already. Here we have hello with log. We send a request to our web client on special URL, which always will return us an error. So let's just run this query to see how it looks like if we just leave it as is. So you see that we have a message, something awful happened. I will show you how it works then. So we send a request to error controller. This controller will respond to us always with bad request, with body, something awful happened. This is how it looks like on old controller. So on the new one, on our reactive one, here we accepted this application JSON. Here we do a bit different thing than we did in our previous examples. So we don't do retrieve and then body to mono. We use exchange to mono. Question why? Because we want to have more manual experience on how we work with the response. Because here we have access to response itself, right? And here we may work with it anyhow. In previous case, we can do it with methods, but here it could be done in more manual manner, so could be more useful and handy. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to at least react anyhow an error, because here we just took a body from our error response. Body is something awful happened, but response is still 200. This is bad practice. Don't return error with response to 100. Don't do that. This is not something good. So how can we do it here? We can wrap this up in kind of lambda. And inside it, we may check the status code. So, okay, if response.status code is not http status dot okay, no, http status dot okay. So if it's not okay, then we need to, let's say, log error. Then we will log error and say like error happened. Here we put like this. Sorry. And then we put the response here. So we just will log everything. And if status is okay, then we will just return our body to mono. So we expect this as normal response. So let me rerun the server. So our new code, we can play with it. Let me call it. Okay, so it doesn't change the result anyhow, because we still return the response body to mono. Well, we return it in any case, by the way. But still, here we have error. Okay, we logged it. Cool. But it doesn't look like the thing I expected, right? So its error happened, and then we have this just definition of the class which we received here. So basically, it's not any internals, or we don't know that it's like bad request or any internals from this request. Well, it's not the thing which we really wanted, but why it happens? Because when you are here and you have a response, it's not a real value. It's just some byte buffer which we received, byte buffer with metadata, which we received from our web client. So we can check status code, but basically body of the response, it's still in the bytes. So we need to convert it. And basically when we do body to mono, we extract the body itself from the code. Well, okay, sounds pretty easy. If we want to retrieve the body and log it, let's do that. So we go here and we say if status is not okay, took response, convert it with body to mono. Still, like, yeah, we can use it. Okay, dot class. And then to get the data from mono, basically you need to, for example, block it. Right? Block will return you the string value. So it will be like this. And here now we need to log this response. And then return everything else to browser. While I'm rerunning the application, you may check that IDEA is telling us that possibly blocking calls in non-blocking context. So this is what we have in case number 1. And here IDEA tries to warn us, but we are stubborn enough not to react on it. So let me do a call. And you may see, okay, different error here. It tells us that block first, block last are blocking, which is not supported in thread reactor. Basically, web client tries to prevent us to call block on the results of its call, because this is non-blocking call, and we try to block it and get the result from it. So basically, we could not do this. But again, we're stubborn enough not to follow it. So we have another method. Instead of using block, we can subscribe for the value. In this case, we won't have this value here. We would have it like here, and we provide lambda, and we just go here and put log error here. Right? So we just subscribe for the value which was returned by web client and do something with that. In this case, log it. Again, idea tells us that probably call of blocking procedure in non-blocking context. Again, we try to get log anyhow and to log it in our application. Let me do a call. Okay, still 500. And another message, only one connection received, subscriber allowed. But let's have a look into logs. So yeah, here we see an error, right? That only one connection received, subscriber allowed. But if we scroll a bit up, we see an error which we want to have there. Not this one, a bit upper. Yeah, this one. So basically we did what we want. Like error happened, something awful happened. This code works. The problem is that now client received nothing. But why, right? Why does that happen? So basically, this is what we have here. We have a browser who want to receive the result. And then we have mono with error, which goes directly to browser to inside the pipeline and with error inside. In the middle, we subscribe for log and basically take everything from this pipeline, all the data. And in the end, browser could not subscribe and looks like this. So browser is not happy that it could not receive any data. So we need to make this work in both ways. So we want to log this error, and in the same time, we want to send this message to the browser, right? So we want this to work in all this stuff. So we could not subscribe for this mono twice, but still we can intervene into the pipeline to work with it. So to make it happen, first of all, let me invert if condition. So if response status is okay, then we just return response body to mono. That's quite easy. If it's not, in this case, we return response. So I mean, like we return this, we return the same thing, but also we don't only return it, but also we want to do some additional actions on this mono, but be inside the pipeline, not try to mess with it around. So in this case, we may use something like flat map. So flat map, it works basically the same as in streams or as in any functional language. You flattened your object. So now we have internals of mono, in this case, response, right? It's string value. And then you need to return mono back. You need to reconstruct it and return back. So we have this response. We want to log it. So here we are. Yeah, I need to have a lambda, of course. So we log this error, and now we need to return mono. Return mono dot, and now we have ability to work with it as we want. We may return mono just. In this case, client will receive 200 status code and the body of the mono. We may return mono error. In this case, we may throw an error and say that something was wrong. So we are free to do anything we want here. So let's say new runtime exception for simplicity. So we return error, we log it and return some error message here. Yeah, but we are free to do anything here based on the thing we want to do, based on our business logic and how we manage our service. Yes, so I'm restarting my reactive application. Let me call it. So, yes, it's runtime exception. That's why it's internal service error. If we will use something more translatable to HTTP status code, it would be more understandable, right? So what we have here our logger. It works. And then we have exception which we thrown with our mono error. runtime exception. It's here. So now we really define it. Also, if you don't want to do repacking, or you want just to return the value to the user in any case, but you just want to log it, in here we may not do this all flat map. You may do, for example, something do on next. And in this do on next, you also have a response which you can work with. And you just like take a log error and put it here, and then you don't do all this repacking. In this case, user will receive the body of the mono, something awful happened, but you will be able to log this error and do something internally in your server if you want to do this. So let me show you briefly. Okay, so something awful happened because we don't repack it anyhow, and here you have error in our logs and no bad errors all around. So conclusions for this small part. Don't forget in which part of pipeline you are at the moment, because you may take all the data from pipeline which should be consumed by other consumer, other subscriber. And remember about those who would come after you. And some Greta here for reminder. And finally, we come to the last case. Yeah, I hope you're not tired yet. Please post something to the chat if you're tired or not. Doesn't really matter because I will still tell you about the last case. I hope it will be fast enough. So, case number 5, despite of everything. In this case, we have our Shiny reactive service, old one. We do a call, redirect the call, and something bad happens, but still we want to make a different call to another service to make a fallback, right? So you do a call, it fails, and then you want to make a call to, I don't know, revert changes or just some fallback thing when you want to announce that, okay, previous call was failure and we need to do something internally in our system. Okay, we have this error handling controller. In this one, we have the very same call to error method, and also we have this fallback call, which calls fallback URI. Right? It's quite simple here, and I think we already saw it several times. So, how can we do that? First of all, we are able to react inside our pipeline on errors, not only on just next actions, but also on errors. So for example, if we just go here, we know that this pipeline will throw an error. We may just even run it and see that it will throw an error as in the previous example. Yes, it also say like bad request from get, all this stuff. So we may react on it. So we have method which calls do on error. Inside this method, we have basically the error which we received. It's throwable, so it's exception which we received from previous part, and now we want to call fallback. Problem here is that fallback itself is also a mono, right? So here we have first pipeline, and now we want to combine it with second pipeline to make it the same. So basically do on error, and then we have another pipeline, and now we want to take the info from it pipeline, right? We don't want to just send it to the user. We want to somehow to take it. So okay, in this case we may use subscribe. In this case, it will work better than the previous one, because here we really do one pipeline inside another. So we want to subscribe to it anyhow, because if we want subscribe, it won't just work, because main idea of all this reactive stuff is to have subscription. And yeah, so fallback response, and now you put it here, and now you say like, okay, let's have a log about this response here. Let me run it. It's running, so let's have a call. So we still have error for the user, but if we have a check the logs, so here we have this info log that fallback response. So yeah, we did a call, it fails, but still we make some fallback, so let's say we are safe, right? Okay, but still user receives an error. Probably we don't want user to receive it because we do all the fallbacks, we do all the stuff. So we want user to see it nice and shiny. Okay, for this case, we have other bunch of methods. So they calls on error. And here you may manipulate with your pipeline what to do in case of errors. So in case of error, you may resume, you may map, you may complete mono, different stuff. In our case, we want to use on error resume. If you open the doc, it says that it's subscribed to fallback publisher when any error occurs. So basically, if any error happened, we just redirect our mono to another publisher and say, okay, this mono is broken, use another one. Okay, this suits our thing we want to do. In this case, we say, okay, if error happened, then just call fallback, right? So we exchange error to another mono of the same type as we have our initial mono. We had monostring, fallback is also monostring, so this works. And now, after we did that, we cannot do on error because fallback should not fail with error. I hope so. So we, instead of this, we do on next. And in do on next, we have response from, now we have response from our fallback. So here we can just log what we have here. Let me restart and maybe I will just reiterate on what we done here. So this mono, this part, throw us error. Always. We say, if we receive error, let's exchange our previous mono to new one, and then we want to log the results of this fallback mono. In case this won't throw any error, this one won't happen. But this one will, this one not. So you need to be careful with your pipeline when you construct it. So, yeah. Fallback procedure happened. This is what now user sees. And inside our logs, we don't see anything ugly, just like fallback response, fallback procedure happened. Coming back to the thing, I already mentioned that if there is no error, then this thing will happen. And this thing, if there is no error, this thing will not be triggered. And this one will. And I think that's not very good because we don't want to log this information if there was no fallback, right? So we want to construct it more precisely. In this case, we just need to define this pipeline as a pipeline. So we have already on error resume with calling fallback, but then inside this fallback, we may do basically do on next, right? And here we may do it simpler. We may just call it like this, log info. So just log anything which was in this callback, and then, for example, we may decide that for user we still should throw an error because yes, error happened. We want to notify user about that. So we may, for example, here do flat map. We have a response which we receive from fallback still, and we may construct mono error, which we already did, with this error, the initial one. So user will still receive an error, but we still do a fallback. Yeah, again, this is depending on your business logic. I'm just showing you here what you can do with the pipelines, and then it's up to you, will you do it or not. This is basically main idea. So let me call this endpoint. So you see, we still have an error. It's still here. Here we still have error in the logs, and we have a log about fallback. So obviously, if I will remove this and rerun it, you will see that we have a fallback. It will happen. I will just show it to you. So, sorry. So for user, now it looks like we just send the fallback procedure happened, but in the logs, it's nice and clear, and we just say that fallback procedure happened. So we log it. Okay, so final conclusions of this talk. Reactivity is not scary. I hope I was able to convince you about that. But you should be able to cook it, and you should learn how to cook it. First time could be harmful, but still it's worth it, and your code will be more reliable and could hang much more load than with classic style. Don't hesitate reading Javadoc, even if it's not easy. Javadoc for reactive is not easy for sure, but still a lot of useful information is there. Read it for sure. New things may be imported into the old ones by parts. So in all our examples, we have our old service which exists in the system, and we just developed the new one. So it's not necessary to rewrite all the systems. all the system to reactivity. You may do it by parts. Still, remember that if you do one service in reactivity, this service should be all reactive. You could not do it and should not do it parts by part. And of course, good luck. Good luck with this stuff. So thanks for the attention. My name is Roman. You may see our community, my Twitter, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
So let's begin from the end. That's weird, but as is. Do we have some GitHub code for your amazing examples?
I may post it. Yeah. So
great.
basically,
It would be rather
yeah,
useful.
I think I will post it to GitHub, and I may put a links to the description of the talk and on VR community, so you may find it there if you want.
Okay, then let's return to the beginning. And during your first case, there was not possibly a question, but a great note regarding the project named Blockhound, which might be able to cover the cases to inspect the code in order to research the places where we might have kind of blockers, blocking codes.
Blocking calls.
So have you seen this project? Have you seen any other tools possibly?
No, I have not. Well, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of nice solutions which can cover this. Yeah, guys, my main thing here is be careful when you use reactivity. Tanya, may I ask you to mute yourself, please, because I hear myself.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries. So thing is that be careful when you use reactivity, because when you just step on this path and start using all these non-blocking calls, it's really easy to use blocking libraries and all this stuff. So be careful when you use drivers, database drivers. Be careful when you do calls to other services. This all could lead to blocking calls. So yeah, if there is a libraries like which one mentioned, yes, that's pretty handy, should be. Also, IntelliJ shows a lot of cases when you do blocking calls. So yeah.
Okay, then the next one. So, as I've already mentioned, there was a set of questions regarding your example where you've logged time of execution. And as for the next question, which was for the, I think, third case, is it a kind of WebSocket for WebFlux?
Well, kind of. WebSocket, as far as I remember, it can be used two ways. I can be mix things here and mix WebSocket with RSocket, by the way. But still, it's a kind of thing which gives us ability to maintain connection between client and server and have a stream of values coming to there. So I'm not sure which year it was introduced to the spec, but all the modern browsers supports it. So I think it's less heavy than WebSocket, because WebSocket brings you a lot of additional stuff with it. But this one is just a way how to use HTTP method basically to maintain connection between client and server. By the way, try RSocket for sure if you want to have something light and have both way communication between client and server.
Okay, thank you. And yep, by the way, a short note, I think it was for the second case, a nice shortcut for login. So moving on. I see, yep, one more short note regarding Alex Shepilov, that he's a principal engineer in AWS since March 2023.
Yes. Well, I meant that he developed this GMH library when he was a developer in Oracle. Yeah, after that he was a developer in Red Hat, and now he is in AWS, yes.
Yep, and the question regarding the subscriber use case. When is the connection closed on subscriber?
Well, basically when something will be broken on subscriber side, or subscriber will close the connection, if this is the answer. So when you consider that, like when we speak about HTTP method, as any connection between client and server via HTTP, right? So when we do GET request, POST request, whatever, we establish connection between client and server, but it just drops when we receive the data. So after data is received, we don't have this connection anymore. In this case, we establish this connection, and assuming this like transfer of very huge object, so it's there, it's just constantly send the data over the transport layer. Basically, it's the same. When connection will be dropped, when something will happen with client or server, or one of them will drop this connection.
Yep, one of the answers in the chat was also, I guess, when Flux is terminated. So, yep.
Or this also can be an option. So when we discuss this case, let me show you. So when we discuss this controller and we emit new events to our sink, in our sink we also have try emit complete and try emit error. So basically these two, try emit complete will complete flux, try emit error will complete flux with error, right? So basically if we send one of these two events, this will complete flux and this will complete the connection as well.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And the next question, I think, rather important one: how to debug reactive pipes effectively, and how to deal with verbose and sometimes unreadable stack trace in case of an exception.
Painful question, I would say. Really painful one.
Sounds not so promising.
Well, that's true. I think I will not answer this question by myself. I will just send you to the great talk from Sergey Yegorov. He made it, I think, 2 or 3 years ago about all this reactivity stuff and how to debug it, because question is quite hard one. As you see in our second example, when we try to benchmark it, all the regular things when you try to debug stuff and things like that are coming to that. They try to debug the process of creation, the process of creation mono itself, but or just pipeline, right? But not the internals. So and stack traces, they are really bad one. So there are several options you can use. You can add some instructioning to your code with special parameter, which will add possibility to see in the logs the real cases of how your code works. Thing is that all this instructioning brings a lot of heavy stuff above your reactive streams, and this is should be not used on production at all, never. So this can be used for debugging when you test something, when you play with it, but for production you should not add all this stuff. So I would say that still logging is working. So if inside your pipeline you add logs, of course it's hard to add logs on each step. It's of course impossible, but still in some places, in some main points, you may put some logs and then you will know what's going on there. I will send you to the talk of Sergey, so he explained it in a good manner. I hope I will be able to find it by myself and put in the description, but just search it. So he had plenty great logs, and now he is the CEO of test containers. So still makes sense to watch his talks.
Okay, I see that guys have posted a question, mono.log. There's an option for login, I think. Yep.
Okay.
But
well, I'm not sure that mono has mono.log, so it's kind of a bit strange. So I think you just when you want to do something inside pipeline, you do something like do on next, or inside map or inside flat map, you just add log. And that's it. And this works inside the pipeline, basically as well as we do in our examples.
Okay. Then the next question. What if you need to make calls to multiple underlying APIs and merge results? Would zip be the best option, or there is anything more appropriate nowadays? I also saw that I think was some answers to this question later, but yeah, I think that zip could work in your case, because zip basically is the thing where you can combine stuff. I don't think there is something more modern, except you just think of your architecture in general and try to, I don't know, call several pipelines. Well, yeah, basically you still need to sync them.
Yeah. I think zip will work in your case. At least I could not imagine something better.
Yep, I see that guys have also mentioned this in the chat. And continuing regarding the questions, for small microservices developed by 1-2 person, reactive could be everywhere. For large projects with layered architecture, mono-flux interfaces should not go beyond the sandbox. Do you agree?
No, I don't. Well, I currently work on the project where we have reactive code in multiple services, and this is on production. It works perfectly, and all this WebFlux stuff is already proved solution. It's not something new which is not tested or checked, so you're free to really take and use it. So think here, which I mentioned, is that it's not necessary for you to write all your services instantly to reactive style. You may do it parts by parts. So if you develop some service, or if you redevelop some service, which needs to be more effective in work of connections, in work with calls, etc., in this case, consider using a reactive stack and use it. Another thing that maybe you work with monolith, and inside your monolith application, it's really hard to have a block of like reactivity and block of not. In this case, well, you can still make part of your application work in reactive way, but still you need to be really, well, you cannot basically, because to make work on reactive style, you need to even change the server. So you not started it on Tomcat, you started it on, and I forget the server name, Netty. So you need to use Netty for on the base to be able to work with this. So by the way, I wonder why I have here Tomcat. Maybe Tomcat now have support for reactivity as well. That's by the way very interesting. I just looking at the logs, and I see that in logs Tomcat was started. So still, my point here is that you may bring reactivity to your production-ready applications and work with them. And this is not something bad or something you will be shamed for. This is really proved technology already.
Yep, guys have mentioned that Tomcat can run WebFlux actually right now.
Yeah, because like I have information I think outdated for around half a year ago, and then Tomcat was not able to do that. But now I see it like now it's not now Tomcat is capable of that. So like wow.
Yep, that's great.
Now I knew something new.
Yep, today I learned.
Today I learned.
Actually, one more learning for all of us have been shared regarding the mono.log. Basically, this method exists, and there was a link to the documentation in the chat, so it's possible to apply it. I see that, Roma, you're trying to test it. May I share your screen?
Yeah. I'm just looking that, yes, it exists. Well, okay, yeah, again today I learned. So the thing is that there are plenty of methods. So if you just have a look inside the mono, there are plenty of different methods which can help you building your pipelines. A main purpose of my talk was to just show you some use cases where you can do stuff and how you can do stuff. Well, yeah, if there is a log method, then yeah, you can just use it directly. Good thing.
But yep, seeing such significant interest of the audience into a deeper investigation, guys, if someone would like to become a speaker, please contact Roma. I think he will find a slot for you for your speech as a webinar in this amazing channel.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, speaking about like the previous question when it was asked like if it can be used in production, so think that I don't know some stuff, like for example, that Tomcat no support reactive stuff, or there is log method. This library is still in development phase. I mean, it's on production, but still continues the development. So new features appeared, something which could be broken is being fixed, and a lot of developers are working on it and provide their feedback. So that's basically good that there is something which I learned today from your comments, so thanks for them. Because, you just use this library and something new appears, so good that we have this strong community who can provide these suggestions. Thank you, guys.
So actually that's why we are here, to exchange the knowledge.
Exactly.
I think the last question which I see currently in the chat, but guys, if you have any, please post them both on YouTube or via community platform. For Mona, the connection between server and client is constantly open as in the WebFlux. Is this correct?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Could you please repeat it?
For Mono, the connection between server and client is constantly open, as in the Flux.
Well, not as far as I know, not really, because mono here can be treated as a regular HTTP call, as you do it like in normal HTTP, like old boring one. So when you do a get and post request, for example, for normal HTTP, you establish connection, receive the data, then connection is closed. So for mono, and basically this is main thing of mono, it contains one or less values, so it could contain 0, and then it provides you its values and close the channel. Flux can contain from 0 to n values, like multiple, and Flux will be closed only when all its values will be posted to subscribers. So in our case number 3, I suppose, we show both cases when we have Flux with only 4 values. So once all 4 values was delivered, we close the connection. And then we have a Flux which was opened, and then where we post the values and all the values were delivered. Main difference here, and maybe which brings some unclarity, is that we construct a pipeline. Pipeline, it's some, let's call it conveyor, which take the values from one side and provide them to the last side. It's not connection. So connection is when you really call your controller method and start this pipeline. This is when we establish connection, pipeline goes to the end. If it's mono, then we close the connection after value is provided. So this is how it works if we speak about like in real general matters.
Yep, thank you. I think this clear enough right now. And one more question. You've already mentioned, I think, Project Loom today. Does it make sense to invest your time and efforts into WebFlux when we have Loom?
Well, that's a good one. It's kind of philosophical one. Does it make sense to invest your time in assembler when we have Java? Does it make sense to invest your time into, I don't know, mobile development in, I don't know, something when you have something else? It's all of these are tools. Basically, the reactive stack is something which is already in production and can be used right now. Loom will be released only this September. Of course, it would take time for libraries to use it, to start using it, to be able to use it in production. And also, one more thing, I really want to redirect you to the talk of Alexander Filishkin, which I mentioned at the beginning of my talk. You may find it on our channel. He made a comparison of how fast does it work, like plain old threads, new threads with Loom, reactivity on old threads, and reactivity on Loom. And basically, with using Loom, you can have advantage of both worlds. So you can use all this reactive stuff with the Loom underneath, and this will speed up your project as well. So the thing is that, like, if you want short answer, yes, you need to invest your time in this one. If, of course, you don't think that ChatGPT will replace us all very soon, then...
I hope not too soon.
I hope so too.
There is a remark that synchronous REST template is deprecated in favor of web client that could be both sync and async, which is also, I think, step forward here. There is a note that sometimes you don't have an option, just use reactive as with Spring Cloud Gateway if you want to create a filter. Yep, and the question one more question from a chat. What could be approaches when you need to branch your pipeline? If, case, cycles, etc.
Well, basically inside the methods which we use here, like do on next or like flat map, you can do any code you get used to. Like ifs, we use ifs in our examples. You may use cycles there, whatever. The question is that after that, you do these ifs or cycles or what you did there, you need to combine all this code back. So basically, we already discussed the zip function when you have several pipelines and you want to combine the results from them. But answering to this question is deeply related to your business logic, like what you want to do. So if inside your pipeline you get some data from other service or other method, basically you can use reactivity on also inside your code. It's not always about calls to other service. Reactivity is a way how you do that. It's basically like streams in Java. So if inside your business logic you need to do some cycles or ifs, then you can do it inside pipeline. Thing here is that you need to be careful, because here you speak about pipeline which process the data. So if you will do infinite cycle inside a pipeline, it won't be really good for nobody. So just be careful.
Okay, thank you. And I think this is the last question from both of our chats. So thank you, Roman, for the answers, and thank you for the absolutely amazing presentation. And
thank you very much.
Returning the floor to you again.
Yeah, so I would like to thank Tanya, you first of all, for moderation of this talk. Thank you very much. I could not make it without you. Guys, thank you all for being today with us. So not so often I'm here as a speaker, but still good vibes. I'm not nervous anymore. So thank you very much for being here with us. Hope you find a lot of useful information. I just want to remind you to subscribe to our channel, click the bell button to receive notifications about our webinar, subscribe to our community on OrgJaCoVCommunity, and also you will receive feedback form if you subscribed there already. Please fill it. We want to know your opinion on our webinars, on me, of course, on Tanya work. Maybe she missed your question, so write like, Tanya missed my question. Please answer it. Yeah, and we are glad to receive any of your feedback.
One more note, in case if you come to us from the OrgJaCoVCommunity platform, do not forget that you have absolutely fantastic button, thank you button, which you could use to basically say your thank you as a badge to Roman. And also you could rate our talk there, just choosing the right number of stars which you think we basically worth.
Yeah, so thank you again for being there with us. We're right in time, so 30 minutes here I have. Thank you very much again for being here. Recording will be available on our channel. Don't forget to subscribe for us and leave us a feedback. See you on our next webinars. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.